Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to our Tuesday night classic movie rewatches that we're doing now. This week we have The Big Sleep, Howard Hawks' great film from starring Humphrey, Bogart, and Lauren Bacall. And I've got a great panel with me as usual here. With me as always is my trusty TA Big Al. Say hi, Al.
Hi, Al.
And we have the Klingon cleric, Mr. Troy Bocelli himself. Welcome, Troy.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
And the talented and charming Sound Engraver as well. Welcome, Sound Engraver.
Hey guys, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Great. Yep. I was, when Al came on, he was like, what is that? Are you cracking eggs? I was like, no, I'm finishing up eeating my chips before Sound Engraver comes on.
Sounded like he was eating glass or something. It was so loud.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, welcome, Nanette. I don't know who the first was. Nanette first? Oh, first comment. Yeah, cool.
I think
welcome,
she was.
Nanette.
Yeah.
Nanette is our first comment. Nanette, you're welcome to drop in if you like. Matchstick, Paladin Demo, Dark Stranger, Stephen Cruz, Casey Scott, Aged Boomer. Welcome everybody.
She just said she was first comment and second thumbs up, she said. So.
Nice. I think I was my first thumbs up.
Oh, that's why.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm modest, though, so.
No one knows unless you tell them like me, like an idiot.
I always give myself a thumbs down because I'm never good enough for myself.
Poor Al. I have the movie queued up. We'll do some intro stuff here first, but I have the movie queued up to the 1 second mark. Basically, I've got the Warner Brothers logo, and the music just started for like 1 second. It says Jack L. Warner, executive producer, on the screen. So, Big Sleep. It's available all of the usual places: Amazon, YouTube, whatever. You can do a rental for like $3. You can just buy it flat out for like $9.99 too. So, pretty good. A lot of the old film noir movies I picked up Out of the Past. No, it was Double Indemnity for like $6 on Amazon. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a steal. It's really great. So good news there. How are you guys tonight?
I'm tired. I could use a big sleep.
I was actually able to grab a slight cat nap quick before the rewatch, so I'm better.
Nanette and I spent today out in the garage cleaning up the garage, and specifically so I could go through my Star Wars action figures. And I it's like I got a gift from 10, 20 years back Troy, because I found a whole bunch of toys I didn't know I had. I'm like, oh, I've got this figure. I've got this figure. Oh my gosh,
man,
this is awesome. But we are both exhausted. We are exhausted, and I sat in the chair and it's like, yeah, okay, we have a rewatch tonight, and then we'll just go right to sleep. Oh, the big sleep.
Except it's really tense. So
good. So it'll keep me awake through the movie is what you're saying.
Yes.
It's good stuff. Zaid Comic, to see you there too. Yeah, I saw your Twitter message the other day. I need to get back to you. I've been kind of swamped with Zaid Comics has a new campaign out, and I've been wrapping up the last stroke for Tales from the Stacks. That's finally going to be shipping here at the end of the month, finally.
Sweet.
So, end of the month, or like maybe first week of July or whatever. There's one last little piece I was waiting to fall into place that I kept doing wrong a number of different times and finally got right. So,
you see the super chat?
I do. Age of Boomer, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. Are noir and hard-boiled detective stories separate genres? Is there a crossover? Well, noir is just for film. You can say this book is kind of noir. I mean, there have been stories that kind of try to go on those tropes, but hard-boiled detective fiction came first. So last week we watched The Maltese Falcon, which was based on Dashiell Hammett's novel, and Dashiell Hammett's generally credited with being the first author to create the genre. Raymond Chandler, whose book this movie's based on tonight, The Big Sleep, was one of the writers to come along shortly after Dashiell Hammett, and Raymond Chandler actually coined the term hard-boiled. And he did that because he was talking about the fiction, how the fiction itself is so stripped down and bare. And Raymond Chandler, I've got to say, I mean, as great as Dashiell Hammett's prose styling is, Raymond Chandler is just probably one of the greatest prose stylists of the 20th century, at least in American fiction. I just really love his work. And I'm actually going to read a slight little portion of The Big Sleep, just so you can see what the prose is like, because it's kind of a crime to talk about hard-boiled detective fiction and not really get the,
Did you see what he did there? It's kind of a crime.
Yeah, you see that? Oh, and Lister for $1.99. Keep an eye out for a drawing of my city, Antville. Oh, okay. Oh, in my messages. Gotcha. I thought you were about the movie. Yeah, cool. So let me read just a little clip, and we'll talk about the movie. And the movie's changed up a little bit from the book and everything. We'll talk about that, but it's still a great movie. It's done by the great Howard Hawks. We'll talk about that. But I just want to read you a short little. It's also you can really see how amazing Chandler's dialogue is. So this is the first time Marlowe, our detective, our Bogart character, meets Lauren Bacall. In the book, she's Mrs. Regan. In the movie, she's Mrs. Rutledge. But let's read you a little bit here. I sat down on the edge of a deep, soft chair and looked at Mrs. Regan. She was worth a stare. She was trouble. And look at those short clipped sentences. She was stretched out on a modernistic chaise lounge with her slippers off. So I stared at her legs and the sheer silk stockings. They seemed to be arranged to stare at. They were visible to the knee and one of them well beyond. The knees were dimpled, not bony and sharp. The calves were beautiful, the ankles long and slim, and with enough melodic line for a tone poem. She was tall and rangy and strong-looking. Her head was against an ivory satin cushion, her hair was black and wiry and parted in the middle, and she had the hot black eyes of the portrait in the hall. She had a good mouth and a good chin. There was a sulky droop to her lips, and the lower lip was full. She had a drink. She took a swallow from it and gave me a cool level stare over the rim of the glass. So you're a private detective, she said. I didn't know they really existed, except in books, or else they were greasy little men snooping around hotels.
Wow.
Hang on, I'm trying to read more. Okay, there we go. There was nothing in that for me.
I was going to say, tell me more about the legs.
Oh, like, don't leave me hanging, man.
I'll get you just a little bit more here. The webpage, I've got it up here to read it from, was there was nothing in that for me, so I let it drift with the current. She put her glass down on the flat arm of the chaise lounge and flashed an emerald and touched her hair. She said slowly, "How did you like Dad?" "I liked him," I said. "He liked Rusty. I suppose you know who Rusty is?" "Uh-huh." Rusty was earthy and vulgar at times, but he was very real, and he was a lot of fun for Dad. Rusty shouldn't have gone off like that. Dad feels very badly about it, although he won't say so. Or did he? He said something about it. You're not much of a gusher, are you, Mr. Marlowe? But he wants to find him, doesn't he? I stared at her politely through a pause. Yes and no, I said. That's hardly an answer. Do you think you can find him? I didn't say I was going to try. Why not try the Missing Persons Bureau? They have the organization. It's not a one-man job. Oh, Dad wouldn't hear of the police being brought into it. She looked at me smoothly across her glass again, emptied it and rang a bell. Then a maid comes in and fills her glass. When the door shut, Miss Reagan said, "Well, how will you go about it then?" "How and when did he skip out?" "Didn't Dad tell you?" I grinned at her with my head on one side. She flushed. Her hot black eyes looked mad. "I don't see what there is to be cagey about," she snapped, "and I don't like your manners." "I'm not crazy about yours," I said. "I didn't ask to see you. You sent for me. I don't mind your ritzing me or drinking your lunch out of a Scotch bottle. I don't mind you showing you your legs. They're very swell legs, and it's a pleasure to make their acquaintance. I don't mind if you don't like my manners. They're pretty bad. I grieve over them during the long winter evenings, but don't waste your time trying to cross-examine me." It's just that great back and forth. It's so wonderful. And some of that dialogue makes its way directly into the script. Worked on by William Faulkner, of course, a great American writer. A lot of American writers in the 20th century were making their bucks by working on screenplays and whatnot. But I just wanted to give you that hard-boiled prose little sample of it before we get into,
If I could ask a question going back to that earlier super chat. So would I be incorrect in saying that the hard-boiled detective can and often is part of the genre of noir, but obviously it's not necessarily the whole thing.
Without hard-boiled detective fiction, there'd have been no film noir.
Right.
And hard-boiled detective fiction, it probably works best as a subject matter for a film noir film, although you can do film noir that's not necessarily hard-boiled detective.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Stephen Cruz, $2 in parentheses, slowly undressing. Keep reading, please.
Oh, he has to make it weird.
Always. He's tamed it down a little bit.
I mean, I understand what he's saying. Don't get me wrong. That's some pretty hot and heavy type of stuff.
It's great prose. It's great dialogue. Yeah. It's good stuff. So shall we go ahead and begin our movie? Are everybody ready here for us?
Certainly.
Yeah, let me pull the movie up. Okay.
Like I said, I've got it at the 1 second mark there.
I'm about 3, but who knows?
All around the same time. No worries. All right, you guys ready then?
Yep.
All right, so I'll count down from 3, and then when I say play, that's when we'll hit the button. So 3, 2, 1, play.
Let me turn that down a little bit.
I was going to say, I hear somebody's coming through there.
Sorry about that. Way louder than I thought it would be.
Oh man, you made me pause, guys.
Oh, sorry. I love this. It opens with of Bacall and Bogart, because they were really the it couple of Hollywood at that point. Like, everybody knew them. They were on all the Hollywood mags and stuff. So,
well, actually, when they were making the film initially, that's when they started. He was married at the time.
Yeah, but they were married. Yeah, they were the it couple.
No. He was married to someone else.
They were still the it couple in the.
But they became the it couple during this film. Yes.
Yep.
They were the it couple by the time it hit theaters, though.
Oh yeah, because this thing hit. This was delayed because World War II ended, and the studio wanted all their war films out, so they actually delayed this. It actually filmed more like a year later. And
he was 47 when they did this film, and she's 22. So that gives you an idea of the age gap there.
And I wanted to point out that Max Steiner had his own shot, his name shot right behind the director. And I was, looking into his work and who he was, it turns out, he was born in 1888. Actually, I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about the plot and all that?
No, you want to talk about those legs?
I just want to say,
I was like,
the lovely Martha Vickers in a role that really kind of made her career there. But go ahead and talk about Max Steiner.
Yeah, so he was born in 1888, just at that tail end of kind of the late Romantic period, where they were really exploring expanding harmony and functional harmony and non-functional harmony, because they were exploring this idea called realism or verismo, where they were using real life events, real psychology, real emotion, and trying to best depict it musically. That hadn't happened really before 1840. And so he really was born out of that. And it says that his godfather was Richard Strauss.
Wow.
Yeah, very famous composer.
Cool.
And so I personally felt a lot of tension when I was listening to his music for this film.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Martha Vickers appeared in Frankenstein Meets the Wolf Man and The Mummy's Ghost.
The Dead Body.
Oh, yeah.
What a body.
Thank you, Troy.
Good one.
And you talk about tension with Max Steiner. If I'm not mistaken, Howard Hawks worked with Max Steiner a number of times. Howard Hawks is a director. One of the reasons he impresses me so much is he's one of the few directors that truly did work in just about every genre, I think. He did a couple of film noir films. He did a lot of screwball comedies. He was really good as a screwball comedy director. He did musicals. He even did The Thing from Outer Space that John Carpenter's famous film was a remake of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really credited at the time as the writer-director, but he was the one who did it. Mackenzie Lambert for $5. Thanks very much for the super chat. Said, read the book and saw the film for a noir class. I would love for an adaptation now that the Hayes office is no longer a thing. Yeah, the book is an absolute classic. I recommend people read it so much. I just read the clip from it. The movie's really great. It's a great Howard Hawks film, and it's a lot of fun with Bogey and Bacall, but this isn't as great of an artistic film on its own as, say, Maltese Falcon was, because they tried to alter the plot a bit to make it a vehicle for Lauren Bacall. Some of the editing that happened, later and stuff like that. They tried to make her tame her character down a little bit, not make her such a outrageous femme fatale, and it still makes her a good film, but it does kind of take the edge off of that film noir-esque and whatnot. Also, the Howard Hawks like to write those Hawksian women, they're called, who are very plain talking. They're very intelligent. They usually get it over on the men. They're usually chasing certain men, and they get him in their clutches, and win in the end. But that doesn't work for a femme fatale versus a private detective in film noir. You know, the man's got to be the detective and get it over. So there is that tension, like the sound engraver talked about, and the music reflects that. But it's really good nonetheless.
And unfortunately, if it was done today, you know, without the Hays Code and so forth, it would probably still be under Warner Brothers, which means probably, you know, like Zack Snyder would be doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, they did do. There is another version. Was it Mitchum? Robert Mitchum did it set in the 70s, I believe.
Yeah, I never saw that one. They did do a later adaptation. And because Carmen, the Martha Vickers character, the girl who just tried to sit in his lap, as he said, she's a couple of times she shows up naked in the book. Like she shows up in his apartment later, and they can't show that in the film version, obviously, in 1946 here or 47, I forget which it was, but without her doing that, I mean, you don't need to see anything. She's just supposed to be like naked in his bed, you know, when he gets home. But that shows that she was there to try to seduce him, you know. If she's just sitting on his couch fully clothed, if you don't know the book, you don't really know that that's what she's there to try to do, you know. So
she was there trying to seduce him. Otherwise, she just had an aversion to clothes.
Got to send clear signals. That's all I'm saying. No.
That's true.
He sends her packing either way, but it's
And does she bite him in the book? Because that was pretty vicious in the scene.
Yeah,
and
she does
he
bite
just
him.
pushes her out the door, and
Yep.
it's really rough.
Hey guys, spoilers.
Oh yeah, my
It's a
apologies.
rewatch, Al.
Right. It's always a rewatch unless we're all watching it for the first time.
Can't help if Al doesn't do his homework.
Right.
It's not about homework.
It's about women's shoes.
Yep. Yes.
I make one comment about how uncomfortable their shoes were, and now I'm the shoe guy.
It was just so perfectly timed because we were talking about, it was Halloween. We were talking about the shot and the composition, this and that. And I was like, those look like comfortable shoes.
They were uncomfortable. They looked uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
The thing was, he wasn't wrong, you know, and it was like, you know,
Thank you.
it's true.
And also how quickly the guy was upstairs. I still don't forget that one.
Yeah.
Daniel Heron for $5. Thank you very much. Says, I hate it when naked chicks just show up at my house. Boundaries. I know, right? Boundaries. So he's talking about the daughters now. The father's being blackmailed. Now, one big difference here in the movie is they talked about Sean Regan here, who in the movie here, he used to be an old cohort of Marlowe's. It was an old rum runner back in the day, but worked at the DA's office or whatever, and used to hang around and was a good friend of Mr. Sternwood's here until he just kind of mysteriously disappeared. In the book, that's actually, he was married to Lauren Bacall's character, Vivian, and she was Mrs. Regan. Now, they didn't want that dead husband angle kind of thing or missing husband angle kind of thing going on in the movie when they're going to try and do a romantic thing between Bogey and Bacall here. So they changed her to Mrs. Rutledge. She just had some different mysterious husband who's no longer in the picture for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
That did confuse me. I was kind of expecting another character to come and be her husband, and it never happened. Now, what do you think of his? If I may, what do you think of this character of Bogart's compared to Sam Spade?
I like, you know, there's a difference between Marlowe in a literary fashion than Sam Spade, you know, just in the books as well. Marlowe's a little more low key, and Bogey does that well. He pulls it out in this role. Marlowe doesn't have to show everybody how tough he is. Marlowe just is tough, you know. And he's not afraid of acting weak if it means that he can end up being tough in the end. You know, we saw Spade, really, he was in command of all the situations around him. Bogey's not afraid of, or Marlowe's not afraid of appearing weak if it means that he can get the information or be in control in the end, very end or whatever, you know. So there's subtle differences, but we'll point them out. I also like, well, we'll talk about that when we get to it. Owen Lister for $1.99. Would Mask of the Phantasm count as a noir film? A noir superhero film? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely got the femme fatale there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bogart knows short little ties all the time.
It is the 40s.
Yeah. Short
He looks
ties,
all right to me.
short ties and tall pants.
Oh yeah. But there's something to be said for those high fitting pants. They can be a bit slimming.
Well, as you said, they're cut for it too, so it's not like he's riding up or anything,
Baduba.
She was very pretty.
Mm-hmm. And that voice, man.
Yeah,
very deep voice.
Yeah, low, sultry voice. She's known for certain sayings in her movies. Like one of them, this one is in their dialogue later when they're talking about "quote unquote" horse racing, and she says something like "depends on who's in the saddle" or something like that. That was one of her.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then there's the other movie where she says, she's the one who talks about being like, if you need me, just whistle, right? You know how to whistle, don't you? You just put your lips together and blow. That was one of her
Yeah.
signature phrases too.
Of course, I'd have followed that up with, "No, I don't. Show me."
Hear what I said about the drink? He's very insistent.
Now, I'm no critic on acting, but I heard that she got some critical response to her acting. That she was criticized for not acting this role well. I think it was
Really?
this movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't see why. It seemed fine to me.
Her character is kind of problematic. Not her acting at all, but her character, because she's originally supposed to be this femme fatale, and they try to sort of slowly put her in phase to sort of a romantic, counterpart as well. So her character's in this sort of weird place. Maybe that's what some people see and interpret as her acting. Though her acting's great. I mean,
I really do miss, getting into kind of the I Love Lucy sitcom days too in the 50s. I really do miss women speaking very low and very slowly. You just don't hear it much anymore. And I think it should have a comeback.
Yeah, too many women nowadays just yelling and shouting all the time at people.
I guess it's not just the women.
Who do you hang out with, Al?
Just the people on this stream here, basically.
I am tame.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
You also tend to have a taming influence on those around you.
Well, I appreciate that, Troy.
You're very calming. Speaking about, you do ASMR very well.
Wow. See, I thought it. He said it.
ASMR digital music composition. There you go.
There you go.
It's out there already. I don't need to do it.
Well, and the fact is, she does that really nice ambient stuff. So, I mean, that's just fine.
I love the butler, how he poor guy has to live with the old Mr. Sternwood, but also the daughters, and he just rolls with it. And Bogey's like, "You made a mistake. She doesn't want to see me. I'm sorry, sir. I make many mistakes," and just walks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, this character that he's about to play is hilarious, and he does this in the book too. He plays basically a homosexual. He tries to feminize himself a little bit to play this role when he goes into the rare bookstore, so that he won't be recognized later. Age of Boomer for $5. I heard that low speaking in women has to do with mental maturity. Makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, and an actor has to think about that too. How am I portraying myself, and what does it communicate?
Oh,
Am I speaking a lower voice, a slower voice, a more thoughtful voice? What is it portraying?
Can you guys give me a timestamp? My film just jumped back to the beginning.
1403, 04, 05, 06.
What a great transformation he did in that. Just
Right?
by the glasses and the flip of the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks completely different.
Now there are some things that Howard Hawks does in his movies, and go ahead and ask for the timestamp again if you need it, Sonograver. But there's something shady going on at this bookstore. But Howard Hawks likes to have his actors in all of his films, he gives them certain physical mannerisms to portray when they're doing this or that, or when they're thinking any kind of inner turmoil or inner thought or inner pension or whatever. He has them portray it through certain physical characteristics. So for Marlowe, in the books, you get his first person narration. So you tell, I love that.
I love that outfit she's wearing. That dress and belt combination is nice.
Oh yeah, she's great. So he has he'll often talk about when he's mulling things over, and he uses chess metaphors, and sometimes he even plays chess with himself in his office. But you can't do that in the movie. You can't get in his head like that. So he has a specific mannerism that Howard Hawks has given him to show when he's thinking things over. See if you can catch it as we go along.
Could I have a timestamp again?
Yeah. 15, 29, 30, 31.
Thank you.
Now, one of the things they do in this movie, which I think was probably Hawks's way of trying to preserve, because Hawks loved tension between the man and woman in terms of romantic leads and stuff like that. He liked the power struggle, whether it's his screwball comedies, his film noir, whatever. And I think he saw what they were doing, the studio was doing, trying to turn this into more of a romantic vehicle for Bacall and Bogey. And one of the ways, I believe, a lot of people will say otherwise, but what I think he did, some people criticize this, I think he added Marlowe as sort of a sex symbol. Because you've got, with her right now, and you've also got at other times Marlowe kind of like has the women crawling all over him in this movie.
Oh yeah, she's definitely leading into his personal space there, Betty.
That doesn't happen in the book all the time, but I think Hawks did it to kind of preserve the mystique of Marlowe, so he wasn't just going to come across like a square-jawed romantic lead, because that's not what the to be.
Actually, he did there. I read something that he wanted all the women to look at him like they wanted him.
Mm-hmm. And they do. I'm sorry. I love a girl in a bookstore with glasses.
But look at the style of those glasses. Those can be very uncomfortable.
He tells her to lose them in a second, so it's all fine. Are you caught up, Sound Engraver?
I think so.
He's about to talk her into closing up the shop.
Yeah, she's closing the door right now.
Oh, so you got ahead of us.
You're just
by about a few seconds.
Yeah, no worries. You're fine.
Shut the door and pull down the shade, baby.
There's still an open window right out there.
There is.
I'm more reacting to the way she pulled down that shade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like she was going to pull something else down in a few minutes.
Just wondering if you have to wear those glasses. Like, look at the audacity of that. But she very much wants to get a reaction. So I love this little, the timing of him looking up and looking at her. Her little look up at him. That's
literally letting down the hair.
That's just perfect. I love that timing. Little fade to black, because that's how you show that kind of thing in the 40s.
Yeah.
Now look at this. After he just basically seduced her, this is how he says bye to her. She's kind of basically like, if you ever want a Bible, like to see you again. So long, pal. So long, pal, and then walks away.
See, this is the benefit of being chaste and Christian. I don't have to deal with that kind of stuff.
That's right. No one will ever do that. That's right.
Now, this character, I wanted to say, I was like, oh, it's that young punk character I'm going to get annoyed with.
We'll talk about him, when we get into him later. Yeah, definitely.
Actually, Sound Engraver actually has me thinking now that's what they used to call giving away the milk for free. So don't do that.
Owen Lister said to cue the saxophone. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd buy the cow if it was
exactly.
A less expensive cow, but
I think I'm going to remind my mother not to watch these live streams with me.
Oh. All it does is just reinforce what a good girl you are.
Thank you. Now, actually, I wanted to talk. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just wanted to talk about the music. You know, I got the sense every time we approached this house, every scene, I always got really freaked out. You know, it's just a very kind of scary setting with some tense moments.
Mhm.
And the music is a little bit playful and characteristic, but it's also quite mysterious. And they're really working with the low end and very close intervals and intervallic relationships. And I don't know, I felt the tension, him waiting in the car, getting out of the car.
Mhm.
And
You got a couple of super chats.
Oh, I'm
Professor.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
I was letting Sound Engraver finish out, but you can go ahead and
Oh,
interrupt.
no, I thought she had. That's why I said it. I'm sorry. I thought she had finished.
Actually, the only one I missed is Stephen Cruz there. Dang, he friend zoned her. Playa. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, you're right. The music is, and I like the way you pointed that out here, that it's mysterious, a little dangerous, but also a little playful. Because I don't know if it really comes across in the movie as much as it's supposed to, but basically, this bookstore racket is supposed to be rare and used books, and the woman didn't know any of the rare and used books he was talking about. It's a smut book. It's a front for a smut book racket. So at his house there, he takes the pictures of the ladies, and they go in the book. That's the racket. They you know, it's in the movie here, but they don't really explicitly draw it out so much. So yeah, it is this dangerous kind of home, you know, where it's it's mysterious, things are going on in there and stuff. So the music matches it pretty well. And he just heard a gunshot and a scream, so he's gonna go.
I wanted to say before I forgot, I love that these scenes are so quiet. There's a little bit of music and a lot of tense music, and then it's really quiet.
Mhm.
And we have gunshots that come quite loud, you know, compared to that silence. You know, even in these modern movies, the gunshots don't really have as much of an effect because we have music going on all the time and that ambience all the time with our senses. But I think the gunshots in this film where there's just so much quiet between scenes, I think has made that kind of sound really effective and quite frightening.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because that is what Hawks would do that a lot. He liked no music at all, for example, between a lot of jokes in his screwball comedies and whatnot. But could you imagine watching this in a theater where everybody's quiet and we're not talking over it or whatever, and you got the speakers, and then like you said, those loud gunshots? That's a good point. It really would draw you.
Even this scene, I didn't know what to make of it because she's kind of quiet and murmuring to herself and laughing, and he's just kind of observing. I find this quite tense and disturbing.
Yogi picks up a lightsaber and
Well, he just smelled the drink, so he found out that she'd been drugged, and now he sees a hidden camera, so he's kind of catching on to the racket. If you remember last week, I used that French term mise en scene, which is a word in film studies that means the composition of the shot. So everything that's in the scene, everything you see on the camera, on the frame at any given point. And Howard Hawks liked to do the compositional triangle a lot, and that's something that painters know about, you know. But the way he would block his actors and actresses, he liked those triangles, you know, in terms of the lines the eye follows and whatnot. He's a dead body, for crying out loud. So I'm trying to get her sobered up, at least some.
I like that circular fireplace.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. Notice that.
Kind of mirrors the camera lens, you know, like you're always being watched, you know, and you got the circles of the head there on the statue and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Circles kind of show up again and again, even in the buds on the plants on the wall. It's everything could be a camera, everything's an eyeball in there, you know.
Wow, like
yeah.
What would you say about having the trumpet sound like that?
Yes.
They're gonna see like that.
with the French horn. It's very disturbing. It's kind of like a call, like you're hearkening to something new, something foreboding.
Yes, Joseph, that's basically what's going on. They drugged her and they were taking naughty pictures of her, and the pictures will resurface here in a little bit. That's the racket that's going on. So again, it's not, in the movies it's not explicit necessarily. You gotta kind of, and we're talking all over everything too, obviously. So if you're watching for the first time, you might miss some things.
It's just a really creepy looking room.
She's been Cosby'd.
Oh, Al.
I'm just saying, it's that kind of thing.
I love that robe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She wears it well, that's for sure.
She pretty much wears that everything well.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren Bacall always had a classic, just a classic beauty to her.
Mhm.
I'm trying to see.
She has a very unique look that was not like other women of the time.
I was checking to double. I didn't think it was directed by Howard Hawks. It's not, but there's a comedy in the 50s, which is probably one of my favorite Marilyn Monroe movies. Actually, it's called How to Marry a Millionaire, and it stars Lauren Bacall, Betty Grable, and Marilyn Monroe. And at that point, Lauren Bacall is a little older. She's not old by any means, but she's a little older. She's not the Hollywood ingenue here anymore. Betty Grable was the big sort of pinup, of the wartime. And she's sort of on her end. But Marilyn Monroe was just coming into her real, stardom. And all three of them just shine in that movie. They're hilarious. It's such a good comedy. It's like 1953, I think.
I have this might sound off, but I have a student. She's 7 now, I think, and she has Bacall's face. She has that theatrical expression too. She's very dramatic. And I was like, why does she look so Bacall? Why does she look so familiar? And I teach a kid who has that same frame, that same face.
Yeah. Strong chin and everything.
Does she ever look at you and go, I don't want to play today?
You know what? That is not far from the truth.
Leave me alone.
No, that's oh shoot, who was it? Her tagline was "I want to be alone."
Oh jeez. Greta Garbo.
Greta Garbo, Ninotchka, yeah.
Oh, Greta Garbo.
She's a great
I
one too.
want to be alone. Love that car.
I love that trench coat.
I know. Those raincoats are perfect. So he's going back into the house. His first, working for the family, his first, even before he calls the police, his first intuition is to get the girl out of there, get her, eliminate trouble for the family. Again, private detectives and, these hardball detective characters, they're not like all straight up law and order, call the police immediately. They're not lackeys of the police. They decide they're not against the law either. They don't, but they play fast and loose in order to get the truth out.
Definitely the private aspect of the investigator.
Yeah. And now he sees that the body's missing. So somebody's been there.
Yeah, the muted trumpets, these trumpets that are really kind of low and you can just hear them ever so quietly with those mutes. Very, very common thing to hear in the late 1800s and also in these older films.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, you said he was born back then and growing up and stuff, yeah. You also see how exotic every room is. Every room has, something from a different country and all that kind of stuff. And again, the detective stories themselves, they tend to become popular at times when there's a cultural upheaval. Like, sometimes they're out the past when there's a lot of immigration in a country, for example, or over in the West Coast after World War II, after World War I even as well. You had a lot of different nationalities and ethnicities trying to work out and live in a society together. So there's that tension, and the detective figure restores boundaries. It's all about finding out the law and order, finding out who did it, putting things back in their place, restoring boundaries. So that's when the detective fiction has become popular. So you're going to see a lot of things like that from different cultures and whatnot. Anybody pick up Marlowe's telltale physical mannerism yet?
Ear tug.
The ear thing.
Yeah. Who you gonna
I
say something?
actually knew it going into the movie, but I didn't
Yeah.
say it before.
Because it was something Hawks did.
Yeah, Hawks
Hawks-
likes mannerisms, like I said.
Yeah. But it was also a mannerism Hawks had a personal habit of his own.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to give all of his characters in his movies these mannerisms that show different things like that. Were you going to say something, Sound Griever?
Well, I was just thinking, it's easy to assimilate these two characters, Sam Spade and Philip Marlowe, because when his friend, this other, well, he's not a detective. I think, is he part of the police force?
He's a detective for the DA's office.
Oh, for the DA, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting that there'd be kind of this rivalry as Sam Spade had with the other two in the other film, but they're actually buddies and they try to look out for each other.
Yeah, again, in the book, it's no, I think in the book anyway, he was a detective for the DA's office because Sam Spade himself used to be, Philip Marlowe himself used to be a detective for the DA's office, but he had problems with the mission, so had to leave. But
Sound Engraver hits on a recurring theme that you see in these kinds of detective stories. You either have a good working relationship with certain, other, detectives on the police force, or an animosity and an antagonism because you are working at cross purposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the American monomyth, right? I mean, part of the American monomyth, whether you're a detective, frontiersman, or whatever, the institutions of society have to be powerless to combat whatever threat is coming up there. That's why you need the hero, who has to be an individual, not part of an institution, to rise up and take care of the threat. That's why there's
I sort of spoke to it when I was doing my Twin Peaks pilot rewatch, and I pointed out the relationship between Dale Cooper and Sheriff Truman, where he takes the time to say, look, whenever I come into town, people get, the local constabulary gets upset because I'm intruding on there, but I have jurisdiction here. And he's like, I really am grateful that you're here. We are out of our depth. Tell me what to do and I'll do it,
Yeah.
As opposed to, it could have also gone the opposite way. It could have been antagonistic. Super chat, Owen Lister.
Which Howard Hawks noir book would be a great adapt to? Well, Howard Hawks is a director. He's not an author. Do you mean a Howard Hawks film or a Raymond Chandler book? They've done Batman noir stories here now and then, but in terms of because Batman himself is a detective and he's got elements of both the classic and the hard boiled. He'd be pretty good at Lady in the Lake by Raymond Chandler. That'd be an interesting to adapt.
I actually wanted to expound on something that Aged Boomer was bringing up. He was talking about this being in black and white, and he didn't think it would be as good in color. And I made the observation that with a noir film, it really does lend itself well to black and white. And I said, even when it's done, when a noir film is done in color, for example, Blade Runner, you have high contrast and a lot of darkness. And that's intentional. That's why black and white is so perfect for it, because it is high contrast.
There's actually, and I want to expand on that point too. Years ago, I had seen the film adaptation of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Very tense, very, very, very tense drama. And it was produced, it was filmed the time that color was available, but they chose to do black and white, and I think that was the right call.
I like that nice little bring the chair over so she put her legs up on it. Yeah.
This was, I think, the movies, what they substituted for. That scene I read you about her showing him her legs, from her robe in that first part, they didn't do that. So they put this in instead, where she's like, oh, I have an itch on my knee or something like that. And he calls her out. Like, so he sees that this is a game she's trying to play, to, bring him in a little bit. Now they're talking about the pictures, of course, that because he looked in that camera, we didn't talk about it, but there was no film in that camera when he found Carmen there. So now the picture is surfaced and someone's trying to blackmail her for money for it.
Okay, you scratch your knee once, and it might be kind of sexy. Go back to it. Now you have a skin condition.
That reminded me of Sam Spade. You know, when he's looking
Mhm.
at other people's mannerisms to either for characters that are trying to give him information or trying to keep information from him.
Mhm.
Same kind of thing.
That's less
I think
about
it's
the
a-
character though than it is about the detective as a profession. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job.
Oh, interesting.
Also, I think also a little Bogey too, because Bogey had that kind of aura about him.
That's a nice little bauble she's got on her hand.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He called her bluff about calling the police, and now he takes it away from her. This is an example of some of the playful little dialogue that wasn't in the book.
Yeah.
And it's well written dialogue. I mean, you got William Faulkner writing the screenplay and stuff. It's well written and it's funny. It's kind of playful between the two of them to have that, but it also takes it out of that sort of hard boiled era a little bit, our genre.
I love that you can hear the words coming out of that phone receiver.
Yeah. What can I do?
Oh, well, that's different.
I wouldn't like that. Mr. Matchsticks has never considered doing a gaming streams at LA Noir. That's a great idea, actually. I think if I do gaming streams again, Troy was saying when I'm ever going to do those again the other day, they cause trouble on YouTube. You can't, which is of course because you're playing copyrighted material, but YouTube just gets sketchy about it. I think if I do that, I'll just stream them directly to the Facebook group because you can do that too through StreamYard.
Or what about that Discord thing? That's how I think how a lot of gamers do it.
I'm just not sold on the Discord thing. I know everybody keeps telling me, but it's complicated. I don't think my viewership, other than like 2 or 3 people to keep bringing it up.
Now, I will say this before we get back to the movie because that's what's most important. With Discord, I do understand that we can gripe and complain about these platforms, regulations, and all that, but Discord may not be as regulated, meaning you are susceptible to more spam. It could lend that as well.
Plus, not exactly the best name, Discord. I mean, come on.
And every time I hear about drama or all these kind of things going down for people and making trouble, it always has to do with Discord or something or another. Or there's a Discord where this
That's
happened.
because people make stupid choices on Discord because they have the freedom to do it. If they were on YouTube, they'd have had their stream closed or they'd have gotten a hit or something. On Discord, it's just out there, and then everyone hits the fan.
Yeah. I like that. It's a lock. It was locked. He said, well, it wasn't intentional. She said, try it sometime, and walks out. And again, Howard Hawks is really great at that kind of banter when it comes to his screwball comedy. We'll have to do a screwball comedy. I would. Yeah, he gets her.
Hey, what's the big idea?
So now he's posing as a seller, like he's got something to sell Geiger that he might like for his racket. But Bringing Up Baby, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn is probably Howard Hawks' greatest screwball comedy. Either that or Ball of Fire. Just amazing.
And can I just point out, all he does is he changes the brim on his hat, puts on a pair of glasses, and he's a totally different person. Don't tell me that glasses cannot be a secret identity.
There you go.
You wear glasses, and then sans glasses would be.
There have been so many examples I've seen of minor changes that completely change someone's look so much that you wouldn't recognize them, that I don't buy that thing about Clark Kent Superman is stupid.
Oh yeah.
Hey, another girl to flirt with.
Yeah, this is kind of a signature.
Well, it wasn't. He does get a cab to tail the car, but it's not a female cab driver. This was,
Okay, I've got to say, of all the cabbies I've ever seen, I've never seen one that looked like that.
The 40s, people dressed up and. Now that thug, Santa Graver was talking about, that another young punk type. Did he annoy you as much as?
Well, I was
What's his name
expecting.
did?
I was expecting it, and we see Wilmer again.
Well, yeah, exactly. Wilmer actor, yeah. Who plays a completely different character. Really good for the actor.
Right. No, actually, no. I just knew he was no good. Like I suspected trouble. The way he's opening the door. It's cat's out of the bag. It looks like they're moving out. So I knew he was up to no good. I knew he was going to come back.
Yeah. Nights are better. I work during the day. The young punk is actually in the book. You find out that he was Geiger's lover. Geiger let him stay in one of the rooms there, which is why he was there. At the time, running away and stuff, and why Marlowe keeps seeing him and whatnot.
Oh wow!
There's even this, again, because the horrible detective's all about the masculine man and stuff like that. And there's a fight that Marlowe has with him, and he punches Marlowe, and Marlowe says, "I took the full punch on the jaw, but there's no iron in a fairy's blood," or something like that.
Wow! Wow!
It's like, whoa! Of course, I could put that in the movie, but.
I get the figurative meaning, but the literal meaning there would also be a fairy from Fable is allergic to iron.
I never even made that connection. I didn't even go that far with it. It's interesting.
Just thought that you might not have caught that, but it would be. In other words, I'm saying, yeah, that would be true if he was being literal.
And that's straight. Stop biting your thumb.
I just want to say I'm pretty proud of myself. I did figure something out about this movie.
What's that?
Well, I'm not saying it because if anyone has not seen it, it's not gonna say
everyone should have seen it. And if you don't say it now, then you can't say it afterwards and say, I knew it after it's already been revealed.
Well, maybe someone else
totally
will find out.
Let us know later.
I'll let you guys know what I found out with the line someone says that made me figure it out.
Okay.
And actually, one of those lines is passed, but both Miss Rutledge has said those lines, and she said one thing in the beginning of the film, and then she says one thing in the car with him, and then I thought about it. I was like, I think this is the case, and I was right.
Oh, like the big mystery at the end when you find it?
Yeah.
Okay. Steer Cruz comment. Thank you for the vital shoot, which says all the girls in this picture are dames. Hot dog. Yeah, that's that femme fatales. The femme fatales had to be gorgeous to the nines, and but as the word implies, dangerous women.
Probably back in the time. Now, I know this is Hollywood, but I'm sure this was back in a decade where people thought about, being more active and healthy and moved more. They weren't as sedentary. So
that's very true. The 40s, yeah.
I will say that whoever, maybe Al knows, whoever that plays this young, troublemaker, he kind of looks straight out of Boy Meets World.
That's interesting. That's interesting, yeah, because his racket, only the gambling racket, and the way his character is, he's kind of a heavy. He wants to be a tough guy, but he's sort of he's not the old established beyond reproach tough guy either, so that's why he's so protective of his stuff.
He's got a modern looking jacket, a leather jacket that looks 20 years later, not something out of 1946. I'm not saying they didn't wear leather jackets back then, but I was like, that kind of looks late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, you're not talking about this guy, Marge. You're talking about the young.
No, the younger guy.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's not a leather jacket. I'm pretty sure. Okay, I got you.
No, this guy doesn't look like he's from Boy Meets World. I'm talking about the other guy.
That greaser look did come back around a little bit in the 90s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
First of all, Professor, the fact that she's mentioning Boy Meets World just makes my heart sing.
You just.
I love that show.
Oh my gosh. He even watched Girl Meets World because he was such a fan
Yes,
of
that
No,
I did.
No. There's
I
only one
wanted to,
show, okay.
well, of course, but still, it was good to see the old friends.
The only thing that I remember from Boy Meets World is Topanga. That's all I need to remember.
I just
has,
remember.
and still
why is-
has the most gorgeous hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just thought it was cool that Kit from Knight Rider was the principal of the school. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes. Yes.
I'm hearing some other whistle. The whistle just passed. Troy, do you have your movie leaking?
Possibly. I'll adjust.
If you guys come back and look for the stream later and it's no longer available, that's Troy.
Our fault, yeah.
I was expecting these really big guys come in the door.
Mhm.
I was like, these guys don't look so bad.
Yeah, that's in the in the book too. And it is this interplay because Mars is trying to be he's trying to control the situation, and Marlowe won't let him.
Right.
Mars even has a gun on him in the book and stuff like that, but Marlowe still maintains control of the situation.
And I love it. He's shorter than these men.
Mhm.
With this guy here, Mars. And he's still not intimidated.
And that's a testament to Bogey's acting because Marlowe himself is supposed to be quite tall, but Bogart was a shorter guy and could still just command the situation like that.
Right.
Well, though he did put lifts in his shoes when he was acting with the girls, so he didn't look as short.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And Lister said there should be a medieval fantasy noir. Interesting. I'm trying to think how that would look. Guess you could have a knight going around finding out a murder or something.
That would just basically be the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones, I think.
Oh, okay.
Like Middle Earth after dark.
So he's waiting to hear from Vivian about the pictures because she was going to go, wait for the call or whatever. And now Vivian says that she never heard. It's all fine. Don't worry about it. And he says, okay, well, I'll stay here until you call me. And of course, he's not going to because he sees
Right.
her machination there.
He's got a hunch.
Yeah. I like that little. Yeah, the music's really cool. It starts out with that light higher. Was they flutes or something? No, I guess they're violins, but then it comes in with the big boom.
Right.
Once he decides, makes the decision.
Yeah, kind of like a hunch or a revelation.
Mm.
I just like how he's casually sitting back as she's coming out of the car.
Yeah.
Wolf 10 Media is mentioning The Witcher as maybe having a little noir.
Oh, yeah. Matchstick says that too. You're right. Because I did read all the Witcher books, and especially the first couple when they were just more like a collection of short stories. There were definitely some noir aspects, short stories that were kind of like The Witcher deciding or figuring out a murder or trying to find a culprit or something. Yeah.
I like the way these films pass time. It's kind of a subtle fade.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the car, and then there's a fade, and then there's a different angle. So you can see that he has been waiting for some time.
Yeah. Yeah, because of the closed sets and because of the black and white, they don't really show time change by the the different sunlight or something like that. So you're right. They just have to find other ways to do it. One of the things that Hawks does really well, especially in his screwball comedies, and you can see him try to do it like in this coming scene here for his film noirs or his westerns or whatever, is that he likes to put a bunch of different characters in a room, have them either talking over each other or all kind of talking about their own agenda or all kind of facing off, like looking at their own thing or whatever. He likes a lot of players and some different angles and likes to build tension like that. He does that a lot with His Girl Friday, for example, and whatnot.
My.
Such a lot of guns. And that's just like Sam Spade, right? Guns can't intimidate you. You got to be smarter than the guns. I love this. He's like, tell your friend with the black slippers to come out of the curtain.
Right.
She's holding her breath. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Steve, you're talking about the noir anime. Yeah, I know that's a big influence on a lot of anime. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
See, I don't know much about these older actors and actresses. Is that his real voice, or is he kind of doing kind of an accent, and just the way he's talking?
That's his real accent, as far as I know. Now he does. Now you will speak in a different, maybe register with a calmer tone or whatever for this different action. But no, that's the way he talks. That you
Okay.
got slur. You mean the bogey slur?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the nuance of some of his words.
Yeah. In his version of that transatlantic accent. I love their little like lover's quarrel in the middle of the guy. Like they're so not worried about the gun. This will be a test. This will show my age. But I was born in '79, so I was a child of the '80s and a teen in the '90s. And I remember growing up with I think it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon called Shirt Tales. Anybody else remember that?
Yeah,
I still have.
yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. Do you remember the name of the monkey?
I mean, I only saw a few of those.
What's that?
I've only seen a few of those. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
okay.
really
Oh,
characters
gotcha.
that well.
The monkey was named Bogey because he talked like Humphrey Bogart. I even got a little stuffed animal that Alyssa. I gave it to Alyssa. He's got a little green shirt and it says Bogey on the front.
That's adorable.
And he would always say, "That's right, sweetheart," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Casey Scott remembers it. A couple people remember Shirt Tales. They're like a group of little animals in a zoo that solve crimes or something like that. Or
Maybe I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the
the
group
Get
of,
Along Gang.
yeah, the band with the shark playing drums.
Oh, Jabberjaws.
Jabberjaw.
Yeah. That was
That was great,
Hanna-Barbera,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jabberjaws were great. All right, so now we get another player in the room and introduce another gun. And you see, and Bogart can even, Marlowe's even in control even when he's sitting down. He's not standing up over people. That's something that you see. So again, everybody's got their own agenda. Everybody's got their own, so now Carmen enters with her gun.
Get out of here. Yeah, no, not you either.
Get up, Angel. You look like a Pekingese.
Hey, Prof. Owen Lister.
And this said he was born in '96 and grew up in the 2000s. Yeah, I know a number of you are in here in that boat.
Young kids, yeah.
One reason why I like this kind of these old films, is it looks very natural. The way he disarms, or, he collects these guns quite effortlessly, but it's not so action packed and dizzying. The pace is quite nice.
Yeah.
It also doesn't look like it's out of play either. He just knows what he's doing.
Now look how frightened Vivian is about this interaction between Marlowe and Carmen. When he smacks her hand away and stuff.
Yeah. The only thing she knows isn't working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. But see that now Marlowe knows, he sizes these people up.
Yeah.
He knows that Joe Brody is no danger, even with the gun. He's just a punk who doesn't know any better. He can take a gun away. Just like Sam Spade knew that about, Joe Cairo or whatever. But, if he's facing a Harry Mars or whatever with the gun, then he's got to take it a little more seriously too, so he sizes up the people behind the gun rather than just the gun.
I kind of like this kind of part of the sequence coming up where he's asking him stuff, getting information on him, and he's kind of circulating, going around this chair, and he's kind of avoiding eye contact by shifting his weight and changing his angle and face, so he doesn't have to look at him directly.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the actress name is, Agnes, but she's got these. I love her big expressive eyes.
Yeah, she's very, very pretty, but she knows how to look very angry.
Yeah.
And she naturally belittles this Brody character.
Mm-hmm. And you don't actually see her with Harry later, but you could imagine her doing the same thing with him.
Yeah.
That's a very sad sequence.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, oh, Wilmer, you just reconcile. I know it's not Wilmer, but
well, the character he plays, Harry. I mean, we'll get to him in a second.
right.
But yeah, well, I'll shut up and talk about it when we get there. But I was going to say a couple things about him. So yeah,
her name is Sonia Darren.
Okay.
That's a lovely name.
It is nice. We were talking over the scene when he went with his friend and they found the car in the water there and pulled it up and saw the body, which ends up being the as they said, it was the chauffeur for the Sternwoods.
So he's turning away from him, and Marlowe's just kind of
Turn back the other way. Or...
He even tells him at one point, I can't remember if it's right here or earlier. He said, "How about you look at me when I talk to you?" I think it might be here. And of course, Agnes in the background watching what's going on. She's definitely, like you said, sonograver. She's in more power than Joe Brody is.
Right.
Because he's just her stooge.
You know, he can make those high pants look very commanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Stephen Cruz is asking me what film or novel first got me into noir. I think the very first film noir film I ever saw was actually, it was either Sunset Boulevard or Double Indemnity.
All right.
If it was Sunset Boulevard, it was Billy Wilder's direction. If it was Double Indemnity, it was Barbara Stanwyck. But they're both amazing films, both Billy Wilder films, actually. So Joe bites it, and here's our little young pug again, the guy from the bookshop.
Yeah, the jacket looks like it's out of the 50s. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just my imagination. I don't know much, but
this is 46, 47. Yeah, you're right.
And bomber jackets at the time.
Oh,
it was during the war.
That is true. Now this kid looks like Corey Matthews a little bit, or maybe like a doppelganger.
That haircut, yeah. Now he thinks he's got free. He thinks he got off, just walking casually. But Marlowe knows. And this is a great their interactions and the way he just kind of has to school this little guy.
Nice. What'll be kid, me or the cops?
I like his face when he tells him he killed the wrong person.
Yeah.
And his name is Carol. Yeah. This from the book. So he asked him here in a second, you got a key, don't you? Because he knows that this is the one who ended up who moved the body. If he's again, thinking the book, they don't say this in the movie, but in the book he was Geiger's lover actually. So he'd want revenge and he wanted to move the body and everything like that and hide up the racket that Geiger was rolling and stuff.
This is my favorite part of the whole movie.
Yeah, he throws the gun down.
Bam.
Maybe, yeah, exactly.
I'm going to remember that move.
It's great, isn't it?
Pick it up, kick to the face.
By the way, I love how these Sam Spade, whoever it is, or Marlowe, I love how he just bounces right back from a punch. I was like, yeah, that hurts, but we're
Yeah.
gonna have it out now. Just wiping his mouth a little bit.
He's somebody he's used to it. He can roll with it. Yeah. Steven Cruz said it looked like he actually really hit Bogart. I don't know. Maybe. I guess they knew. Owen Lister said, so in the book, they actually had a gay character. Yeah. I mean, this was hard-boiled detective fiction. This book was written in 1939. And this hard-boiled detective fiction, we can recognize it as well-written fiction today, but back in the day, it would have been lowbrow pulp fiction, crass, that kind of thing.
Now, I didn't get this. Who's lying in the bed?
That's the dead body that was there to begin with.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So that's who Carol moved. Kind of laid him out in state there, sort of respectfully. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book, Marlowe did get in not a lot of trouble. He got out of it, but he got the finger wagging for not reporting the dead body, right away, of course. But
yeah, that makes sense.
And this scene here, so she's going to go and try and pay him and say it's all fine. You don't have to do anything more. Everything's good. It was actually Sternwood himself, I think. No, he just got the check in the mail or something from her. But they're going to push her character in as much as possible to give them back and forth. And they've got a really great dialogue here. It's really great kind of banter. But again, it's more for a romantic kind of playful thing than it would be for a hard-boiled detective and a femme fatale. But it's well written nonetheless. Oh no, Steven Cruz said they should remake this film starring Michael Cera and Ryan Johnson should direct it. Oh, that's yeah.
Well,
That's
it's on the internet now.
Yeah, exactly. It's out there.
But yeah, you were talking about like adding extra scenes with them. You gotta give Hawks credit for taking advantage of their chemistry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now, Big Al, was this the first movie that started that Hollywood chemistry between them?
Yeah, according to what I read, that it was this film that they got together.
Just a year or two before this, they did another Howard Hawks film, To Have and Have Not. So while this movie, quote unquote, they officially got together, they you can imagine they met in that other one and sparks were flying. But
yeah, well, I do know Humphrey Bogart was considering leaving his wife, and he was kind of having a little drinky issue during the filming of the film.
Yeah, To Have and Have Not was in 1944. So Howard Hawks had worked with this couple before,
Well, it was kind of the same year. So I think this is the one where they really started to get hot and heavy, and he was considering leaving his wife for her.
I mean, we're talking about Hollywood actors who married 5 to 8 times.
Yeah, and this film was filmed in 1944 and into 1945, so it's all within a few months of the other film. They cranked out movies quickly back then.
And that's one of the things they in the editing and in the post production and whatnot, they changed it around to or the reshoots and whatnot, they changed it around to be more of a vehicle for the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid the professor has to go potty as usual, so I'll be right back.
I literally was just about to say the same thing.
I was about to do the same thing without saying it.
It's all you, Al. Bye.
Oh, gee, thanks.
I'll stick around if we want to use the chairs or something.
No, I'll stick around.
Yeah, it'd be just like school, only one at a time, children.
I'll be right back.
Oh, man.
Like I said, I got my trusty little bottles.
No thanks.
Minor kind of necessity.
Actually, Troy hadn't been talking for a while, so he's still around, man.
I just look at her eyes though. She looks guilty of almost anything.
She has, I know she's fully developed. She's a beautiful woman. She has kind of a childlike expression. There's almost like a kid face to that woman face.
Yeah, and like I said, when he's grilling her like that, she just that face looks like a child who thinks they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I consider it. It is kind of that expression.
I do miss the low woman voice. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
We have the kind of Larson kind of voice now.
Well, I like even like I said, someone like Bogart who's just that calm, cool.
Yeah.
You don't see that a lot. You see either quiet and then like shoot everybody up like a John Wick, or maybe a little louder, just
yeah,
a little quicker on the punch as opposed to talking themselves out of it.
Yeah, sparing their words, and I miss the debonair. I miss that look. I miss the mannerisms.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you wash your hands, Professor?
Yeah.
Always.
Okay, just checking.
I mowed the lawn at my mom's house today in the sun all day, drinking lots of water.
And another flirtation.
He has two of these waitresses wanting to give him the
That's right, I know. Yep. It's like every time I go to a restaurant, it's crazy.
I actually wanted to talk about the singing scene. I thought it was really peculiar. Now, I don't know if Bacall is a singer.
She did sing this, yes.
No, she did, but this is interesting because we're talking about how low she speaks. She has a very low speaking register. She's also singing very low. She's going down to an F below middle C, which is very low for a female. But the men around her, they're singing in her register, which is higher. And men back then did have a pretty flexible register, singing high as well as singing low. But it was it's hard actually to hear her voice because she's singing the exact same register as the men singing in a higher register. So you have to kind of listen a little bit.
I never caught that.
Unless she's singing solo like that she's doing.
I love this.
She does not like women sniffing around her man.
But he will not be on a chain like that. He asserts himself back there.
Yeah.
I never caught that. That's really, the registers I never caught. But you're absolutely right. I can hear it. I can hear the men singing higher than her, and
Nanette points that out very often because she has problems perceiving lower registers.
That's in the book. She's just in the room playing roulette. She's not just singing with the boys. But in the movie, they've got her in a nice white dress and just singing, having good, clean fun. Again, trying to clean up the character a bit.
Yeah.
Man, the liquor just flowed back then.
I know.
It was the 40s.
It's not my rewatch, so I'm just salivating.
Yeah.
They had so many years of prohibition. It was time, I guess.
We're talking about people that really didn't stop during prohibition.
That's true as well.
Nobody really stopped during prohibition. They found a way.
Now, we got that hunting dog, the pointer,
Yeah.
associated with Mars, and now we see it in the mirror again associated with Mars when he walks away from it. So it's really trying to show these well-groomed, well-trained
you got that terrier statuette. Yeah.
But they're show dogs too, right? It's all for show. and Mars has got the clean cut look or whatever, or he's running a gambling place, but still it's trying to appear as though he's above the law.
It's a beautiful contrast to the Geiger room. Everything looks like it's from the same place.
Yeah, good comparison.
Yeah. Looks much more Spartan. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Lighter.
It's not cluttered looking. It's a lot more open.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's a place where backroom stuff goes on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of back, I like that back door into the wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's just transparent. He's like, no, I'll just go out like everyone else does.
Yeah, the rest of the suckers. Yeah. And now he. So this again wasn't really mentioned as much in the movie. But in the book, they're pretty upfront. I mean, it's part of the movie's plot too. But in the book, they're upfront from the beginning that Joe Regan, this guy who's been missing, which was Vivian's ex-husband in the book, was seen a lot running around with Mars's wife, and they're both missing.
Mm-hmm.
I shall return.
All right. And I was just asking Mars about, are you having me tailed? Because he keeps seeing somebody tailing him in a sedan. And I can imagine those actresses playing the waitresses probably really were feeling like that around the great Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
That's some of Hawks' signature comedic talent there. What's the one guy doing dressed like a cowboy? You see him over on the right? What's a cowboy doing in there? It's just a weird design.
When he was talking to the two wait staff, a woman walked by behind dressed in a cowboy outfit. So
really?
There must be something thematic going on here that I'm not picking up on.
Huh. It's just some of the more casual styles amidst all of the tuxes. I guess you're like all walks of people coming here to throw their money down.
Well, you're talking about the guy with the plaid shirt in the back there?
Yeah. She does. Lauren Bacall has that great way to cut her eyes. She's got that.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Boomer, a Dark Passage rewatch in the future. That's a great idea. Yeah, to put that on the list. Really good one. I'll put the bug in your ears now. You can kind of think about it a little bit while we watch the rest of the film. But after the movie, I want to decide on what to watch next week. Shall we continue? I want to keep all these Tuesday rewatches classic movies because I'm having so much fun with this. Should we continue with the genre and keep doing film noir for a while, or should we start continuing with a director and do another Howard Hawks movie? We could do a screwball comedy or something like that. We got a lot of options. We could do a screwball comedy, or we could do another noir. I just want to keep it classic for a bit, though. I like this.
Oh, nice.
You like that little gun compartment?
Yes. Sweet.
Always prepared. So he knows something's up. He's sensing things. And he's laying in wait here.
I like the idea of doing a screwball comedy, though.
I would just have so much fun with Bringing Up Baby. I think you guys would love it too. I know Sound Engraver would just love it as well. It's really
Tiger.
Yeah, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. It's hilarious. It really. I mean, even for a movie made back then.
Well, Cary Grant's
hysterical
anyway.
Yeah.
And speaking of Cary Grant.
Yeah. Well, no. So, because what was the one with the Cary Grant? There was some slapstick, but I forgot. It was like with this Indian princess that comes. I saw that one, but I can't remember what the title was called.
You'd love Bringing Up Baby, even if you've seen it before. Watching it again would be hilarious.
Well, I want to point out Wolf 10 Media's comment. He says, "I'm a lady with class," and I hope so.
I
I
concur.
try to be.
Absolutely concur. You class up the joints. Nice to have you around.
Thank you. And thank you, Wolfton.
Now, notice he said, "Tell your boss that I'm not falling for these games." So,
Mhm.
he'll kind of explain what that means in a little bit, but he's not buying this as just a random happenstance that happened to occur.
A crazy random happenstance, perhaps.
Oh man, yes. Good memories. Now, actually, there is a line in this car scene that made me figure out what happens at the end.
Oh, okay, yeah,
See the little bee? See the bee sticker in the window?
yeah.
That was for gas rationing.
Yep.
Oh,
They were
okay.
limited to $8 a week, 8 gallons a week. That's what
I
it
did
was.
not. Wow.
The B was on the mid to low side.
Times.
What's that?
We might be heading down those same times.
Yeah, right. Owen Lister, thanks for downloading the super chats. Just tweeted the Antvil picture. Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
Now I'm predicting around late September the kaiju will start to rise.
So he's trying to really get everything out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And kissing works.
Now he knows she's gonna try and she's trying to seduce him. I mean, she's like leaning back in the car, looking at him like that, And so he goes ahead and takes advantage of the kiss. She's like, "Yeah, that was nice," and he's playing along a little bit. She says she'd like more, so he's kissing again, and then he goes right back to the questioning.
Yeah.
Now she's tried to pay him off already and put him off the case. You would think that anybody who's paid to do a certain thing and then they're paid for it and they said your services are no longer required would walk along their way. But the detective archetype, whether it's a classic detective or a hardball detective or whatever, their greatest driving motivation is to figure out a mystery. If you put a mystery before them, they will forsake everything else to figure out what really is going on behind that mystery. They need to. It's like a compulsion behind these detective archetypes.
So
noticing your hand. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't. Well, I don't know when the line comes. I think they're going to start driving again.
So he says that was just a charade with the gunman, and he asked her to open the bag and let me see all the money there if it's not a charade. And she won't open it.
Maybe it's a different car scene, or maybe I missed it.
There is another car scene. They're together again. Yeah. Now here's where he comes in. Carmen's in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember which one of you said it, but one of you said, when she was kind of biting her thumb in the Joe Brody's room there, and her one trick doesn't work on him. So that's what she's trying to drive home again. She's trying to seduce him. That's her one trick. And I don't think he says it in the movie, but in a book later, he says, "You don't do that to Carmen. No one denies Carmen." She doesn't like that.
Nobody puts Carmen in the corner. Oh, sorry, wrong man.
She looks completely different with her hair up.
Mm-hmm.
I always think, and this was true with Lucille Ball.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about putting the hair up that ages the woman. I don't know why. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
And when Lucille Ball, in her first sitcoms, like the first season, she didn't wear as much makeup and she looked much younger. When she started putting on a lot of makeup, it did age her. She was my age when she acted in that sitcom.
Oh, wow.
I thought the makeup really, and when her wearing her hair up very tight, I thought it aged her quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's amazing, Lucille Ball, when you see her like in other films with her hair down and not being, Lucy. Oh man, what a beauty she was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was she a natural redhead?
Yep.
Yeah.
She was. Yeah.
Yes, she was.
And then she dyed it red.
So now I like this. The DA himself is. Now, remember, he used to be a detective for the DA.
Right. I love that molding in the background.
Yeah.
Kind of that
All organized and
feel,
ordered.
Yeah.
Parallel. So she's trying with other methods. The daughter's calling the DA to try and get him to lay off. So he's getting close to something that Vivian doesn't like. One of the common theme in a lot of Howard Hawks movies that you really don't see in this movie much unless you kind of play on the subtext that he's talking about a little bit, but in a lot of Howard Hawks movies, he likes to play with friendships between men, and the natures of certain friendships and what constitutes betrayal or respect or stuff like that. You don't really see friendships too much, between men in this movie, but you do have this concept that Marlowe really liked Mr. Sternwood, the old guy. He really, he just kind of, and he appreciated the fact that Sternwood put him on the case. He appreciated the fact that Sternwood was quite fond of this Regan guy, who used to sit around with him and drink brandy and keep him company, So you got that. It's still buried in the subtext of the story there, or the foundation of it anyway, but it is a common thing in most, a lot of Howard Hawks films anyway. Once we get to Rio Bravo, his Western, which I think is one of the greatest Westerns ever done. We'll see that.
Oh, the roll in Rio Bravo rolls along. Sorry.
What is that? I don't even know what you're singing. That has nothing to do with the movie.
It's the song. It's the song. It's the end song. It's the end song from Rio Bravo, dude. Steve Martin sings it.
It's not even part of it. It's not like in the movie at all. It's unrecognizable when Al sings it anyway.
I don't know. I kind of
just cannot accept my talent.
It made me want to sit next to a campfire and eat some filling cornbread.
Like sing Rifle Pony and Me. That's more recognizable, right?
Well, make me want to have
but
beans
it's
and
the very last
flatulence,
scene of the movie as it goes off.
Sausage and fried eggs, 35 cents.
Nice.
That sounds good too.
I could go in there in today's money and I would tear that up. Be like Ron Swanson. Give me all the eggs and sausage you have.
And I know you think that means just give me a lot of eggs and bacon, but no, I said all the
eggs and bacon you have.
You remember that was ration too, so.
Oh.
Yeah. I like the little scribbles on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Little house down there and all these kind of numbers and everything written and covered over.
Like there's a lot of scratch marks. Like here's a number. Let me scratch it out for confidential.
Yeah.
You're not going to Mexico. Or Mexico, whatever it is.
Yeah, in the book too, like every morning Marlowe wakes up and goes to the diner and eats some sausage and eggs or bacon and eggs. I'm like, how do you do anything the rest of the day after eating a big plate of sausage? And I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but I gotta
it gives you
I
fuel,
have much
man.
to do the rest of the day. All right, so this is the sedan that's been following him, and he sees the name is Harry Jones. Kind of convenient when license and registration used to be right there on the cars.
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on something real quick. He's walking and he's approached by a man and there's a man behind him, and the man in front of him says, "Howdy, mister, would you please?" and then punches him in the face, or he says something along those lines, which really shows that Marlowe, even with people who are naturally cordial, he just won't trust them because he's had these kind of interactions.
Yeah. Now that's actually something not in the book. Marlowe doesn't get jumped or beaten up.
Okay.
He does. He confronts Harry Jones because he finds him following him. He says, "I'll be at the diner. I'll be in my office later. Come talk to me if you want to or whatever." But I think they did this to kind of make Marlowe a little more empathetic for as far as the leading romantic man. He can't just be the guy. Yeah, there he is.
I was like, they're going to reconcile.
And he plays this character Harry Jones, who Marlowe actually likes. And later on in the book, he even says, or in the movie, he even says, I liked him.
Yeah.
He kind of gives him a hard time at first, as though he's like any other person. But Harry Jones shows himself to have a little more education and not be so rough around the edges. And Marlowe tends to take a liking to him.
Too.
What's that?
Also some heart, you know.
Yeah, heart.
That's
a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And I'd like to say that I knew the address was a phony too.
Oh yeah, when he gives it to him later.
Yeah, that's Comiskey Park, right? No, I'm sorry, wrong movie.
So he was a run-rummer too in Prohibition, which Regan was, as well. And he's got it right. Yeah. This is Agnes's new stooge. She's too big for you. It's kind of weird seeing, even watching it, like, so many times. Every time I see this scene with him having this conversation, being all beat up and in pain, it's just like, it doesn't feel right. But again, I know they did it to kind of make him more sympathetic as a romantic lead and stuff, and not just a heavy walking around bullying people and stuff. But
so I'm just curious, in the book, does he in these situations always have the upper hand, both vocally and also physically?
I mean, in this situation, this conversation, he certainly did. The ending still happens. He's still, captured and tied and stuff like that. That happens in the end. That happens, as the climax of the book. But this is kind of like a cheap, just thugs jumping him in the alley kind of cheaply and boom, boom, boom. Like that, that rarely would happen to somebody like Marlowe in the books,
Yeah.
Gotta love someone named Puss.
What's his name?
Was Puss Walgreen or something?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So he's getting it for $200, which is quite a sum back then, But because this piece of information, where is Harry Mars's wife? The wife that he keeps asking Mars about, who disappeared around the same time Regan did. So there you got the connection. And maybe, too, him being beaten up here might account for him not jumping into the fray here a little bit, although or maybe like audiences needed to have that reason or whatever. But in the book, it makes sense. He would just listen to what's going on because he doesn't know what's going to happen, when it happens and whatnot. He's just getting the information. But this Canino guy is a heavy that Mars often hires to do his tough guy work. Who's humming?
Not me.
Not me.
Oh, I think it's just
Sound engraver.
Shockingly, not me.
Actually, I think it was just your sinuses, and I thought they were melodic for a second. I thought it was humming.
Maybe.
Tune too.
Is it sound engraver? Do you want to do an analysis of Big Al's sinuses?
My body makes all kinds of weird sounds at this age.
I will say, from the nasal cavity, it's emotive.
Oh, okay. There we go.
There you go. It's kind of nasal. Yeah.
So he wants Agnes's address, and Harry gives it up. Gives this address. This is the one that Soundgraver is talking about.
He really knows how to play the just the petrified person who's lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel so bad for him.
I know. And again, a testament to his acting, because you hate his guts so much in the other movie, but in this one, you're like, oh,
Yeah, it's not the actor. It's like, well, I like this character.
Yeah.
Well, see, I still will always see the guy from Star Trek.
Samuel Cogley, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's harsh. Yeah, when I heard that, what do you think it is? Poison. It's like, oh, that's.
Mm-hmm.
He takes it.
He was also in some Twilight Zone episodes. Now he's laughing because he gave him the false address. Yeah, it's a rough way to go.
Man.
It's cyanide too, I think. In the book, it spells it out.
Wow.
I don't know much about poisons. I guess it would act that quickly. I don't.
Cyanide is one of the fastest acting poisons. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from, again, talking about where you just go for many, like a long duration, a long length of just silence and dialogue, and then when something dramatic does happen, like a death, the music kind of takes you with it. It's like you're kind of going with him a little bit emotionally.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's like the music, instead of cueing you in, okay, this emotion's coming up, get ready for it. It lets you experience the emotion first and then accents it afterwards. Is that the way of putting it?
Yeah, during the actual event of his dying, of his collapsing, that's when the music started coming in, and it's like tumbling down. And that's an instance of verismo, or realism, musically depicted.
What's the term for it again? You said
verismo.
Verismo. Okay, gotcha.
Verismo.
Is that Italian for realism, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It comes from the same root as verisimilitude.
Right. Yeah. So for of the real.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, Troy, you're right on there.
That's cool. That's a good. It's interesting to think about.
So the event of death in this way, poison and collapsing, had to be musically depicted as best as possible too. So you kind of hear that the orchestra starting at kind of an eerie, and then just kind of falling down the range, and also increasing in volume as well as he tumbles on the floor.
Mm-hmm. It's nice that it gives the Jones's death the beat, because this isn't just some thug dying or whatever. I mean, Marlowe's actually kind of sorry to see him die, so he sits down. And I was just noticing, you got me thinking about the music there, and the music faded to silence for a second. So like that was the beat, that part was over. Then the phone rang, then the music picked up to like the next, action or the whatever. But that's
yeah. I kind of like how he almost reprimands her, like, this guy died for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, because he knows that Agnes is the kind of woman who just kind of gets these men to do these little, be your stooges and whatnot. And he's a little ticked off because he liked Harry. Even at the end of this, she says, wish me luck. I've had a hard rap or something like that. And he said something like, I bet you did, or something like that. I forget what he says, but. Brian Gilmartin said, rest in peace, Little Richard. Yeah, I was bummed. I was listening to Little Richard that day.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a joy that man was.
Yeah, so great. Alyssa loves listening to my 50s music with me. We listen to old 50s rock and roll.
Fantastic.
I think I've told this before, but sometimes we're out in Walmart or out in the store or something, she starts singing, like, you think 50s songs are pretty innocent. They're like little innocent rock songs, but she'll find the most incriminating piece of the song to start singing out in public. Like, we're out in public, she starts going, the girl can't help it. She was born to please. And I'm like, Alyssa. She's always saying the most incriminating things. She still does. If she does something, she'll say what she knows you're going to say about what she just did. So like if I'm in the other room and I hear her go, "Oh, Alyssa," I know she's like made a mess or dropped something or something like that, because that's what I'll come in the room and I'll say. I'll go, "Oh, Alyssa," or something like that. So she used to have this problem about hitting when she was angry or upset, and she was mad, because she didn't have all the words to express herself, so she would hit. And I would say, "Hey, don't hit me, don't hit me." So she would start saying that when she was mad, she would hit, and then she would say, "Don't hit me." So let her do that in public sometime. And then somebody in the next aisle just hears a smack, and then your little girl going, "Don't hit me." No, that's not what it looks like.
Call child services.
I know. Oh, the kid. So it's a garage next to, and that's what Agnes said, is this house that she stayed. This is Mars's wife. She's staying in a house next to a garage, so he lets the air out of his tires, so he'll have a reason, to be there.
Kind of like how he just rams into the ditch like that.
Yeah.
Letting the air out of his tire.
And he's not taking no for an answer.
He just starts.
Well,
He's like, "You
hello
should go
there.
back. I'm not afraid of guns."
Oh yeah, L.A. Confidential, Stephen Cruz. Yeah, that's definitely one for the Noir watches at some point. That was a great one. Now he knows who that is, but the guy didn't see him, so. The lighting on Canino,
Yeah.
making his eyes just like demonic glaring. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just really well done.
And plus, there's something about his head that looks off. Like his ears are big, or his neck is too big, or
He does look like a Dick Tracy character a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just has this oddness of features.
Yeah.
Very sharp features too.
Mm-hmm. So they did that little pull the jacket back move. In the book, he actually takes the tube from his tire and slubs it down over him.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now we finally meet Harry Mars's wife, who disappeared at the same time Regan did. And in the book, it was just the two of them. But this is another example of, just getting more screen time for Vivian. Although I think that they did it kind of smartly, working her into the scene.
So if Vivian wasn't there, how did he get out?
It was with Harry Mars's wife's help there.
Okay, so
In fact,
she didn't exit the scene. She was with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
She does everything that Vivian does here, basically. She lets him go, and then she sends them out and everything, because she's not a fan of Canino. She just can't believe that Mars, would have done the murders and stuff. But so Regan went missing, and everybody assumed that he ran off with Harry Mars's wife. But it turns out that Mars has been keeping his wife hidden in this house. So that's the mystery at this point. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? To throw people off of Regan's trail. I love this. He said, you had to keep going. And he said, me, I got to keep pressing ahead. And she said, why did you? He said, because you told me to stop. And that's so what a detective does. You try to hide it from him, they will incessantly keep searching.
That's great. What a great archetype to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I like the fact he's tied up. They're still servicing him.
Well, yeah,
look at a little drink, giving him a cigarette.
Exactly, and look at the compositional triangle too. He's lower, but he's still the focal point.
Yeah.
He's still got them, rolling all around him. He's still in control even when he's below and tied up. Brian Gilmartin said, "Thanks for letting me join your group." Of course, Brian Gilmartin, and that's a great example or reason to drop the Facebook group link in there. I'm glad you said that. the Professor Group Facebook group is where I'll start, where we've already started holding a lot of our conversations in between streams and talking with you guys and announcing streams coming up and everything. So there's the link. Please join the Facebook group if you haven't already. I will be taking down my Professor Geek Twitter for a time, applying to some different teaching jobs and whatnot. And you could still go onto Google and find my name linked to some of those old memes and stuff like that. So it's best just to take that account down for a while. But I mean, Bible Geek will still
don't want to end up like the elongated man from
I know.
Oh, yeah.
You won't find any racist things on my Twitter. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, say something done 10 years ago, you're fired.
Oh, it's going to be a problem for a lot of people, especially in the high profiles.
I will say it takes talent to talk with a cigarette in the mouth.
Right.
Actually, they had a lot of practice back then.
Yeah, right.
Now, I don't condone anything that would probably be a detriment to your health, but I grew up with sitcoms like I Love Lucy and stuff like that, so I was used to seeing good-looking people smoke.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting. In a strange way, I kind of miss that aesthetic, and I actually kind of like the smell of smoke, even though I've never smoked. But it's just because it pulls me back to these kinds of films, sitcoms.
And it is a cultural thing too, because I grew up around a bunch of rednecks, though. So like, I see cigarettes and I'm like, oh, low class. But you're right. If you see it in those time period and stuff, absolutely, it's kind of refined back then.
Right.
Well, my first job was at a little country store, and you had all the cigarette boxes along the bottom of the thing there, and someone would come in and get one. All god awful different ones too. I always like the smell of a pipe smoke, though, like when it has a cherry essence or.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's his big escape here. He's still got the handcuffs on him.
Yeah.
He's going out. Now, remember, he's had those 2 guns in his car compartment. So, they grabbed one that he had. But he's still got the other. So that's the decoy. It's done kind of quickly here, but it was actually pretty ingenious how he pulled it off in the book and stuff too. But it's well filmed here. It's well plotted out.
So does Mars' wife, is she basically doing what we see Vivian do in this scene?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't want anybody to die. She can't believe, just as Mars' wife in this movie can't believe that her husband would kill. She thinks it must just be Canino then. So she's all for helping him get one over on Canino and the thugs, and stuff. So
see,
I like that he does.
Yeah, he's just like, he's running away. I'm like, if I heard a gunshot, I'd be ducking behind the car.
He was booking, isn't he?
And Marlowe doesn't even try to shoot him because he knows he's a coward. He knows he just hears it and he'll go, Now this guy's different story. Oh, Lister's taking off. Good night, Owen Lister. Thanks for hanging out with us for a while.
Night, Owen.
Take it easy.
Mm-hmm. We'll see you, man.
I liked your Antville picture. I checked that out while we were talking. Very cool.
I like the collar on that dress.
Mm-hmm.
It's elegant.
It's a great scene right there with the lighting and and her gripping her hands.
Mm-hmm.
The music adds to it as well. I mean, it's good tension. Like, how is he going to get out of this or whatever?
I don't know if this was intentional, but it's very misty, which makes it, until he's right on top of him, taking a shot at him would have been a little more difficult.
Well, that would have been intentional because this is a lot they're shooting on. I mean, you can, everything's manufactured here for it. Now, this is all new. In fact, everything from this point until the end of the movie, except for like the little conversation they have about Carmen later, is pretty much just all new for this film. But like I said, it's well done. It's just doesn't quite match the.
So my film jumped again to the beginning. What's the time?
Oh no!
Sure. 1 hour, 44 minutes, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Nice. Okay, this is the car ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just going to say bad timing because this is probably what you wanted.
She just said, "I guess I'm in love with you," and he's gonna say it back.
Okay, so this is the line.
When she says she killed Sean Regan.
Right. No, not that. She says, "I will tell the police that."
Yeah. Will you tell the police that? I will if you take me there.
That cued me, and I'm like, oh, she didn't kill him.
Yeah.
But I know who did. Because she expressed by his asking at the beginning how loyal she was to her sister.
Yep.
So that is still the basic mystery, the basic solve and answer to it that's from the book. They just do it in a different way, which is probably more cinematic. But
it's interesting. You solve the mystery the way a detective is supposed to, based on picking out the clues that were there in the movie. When I first saw this movie, I solved it only NCIS fans would know what I'm about to say, what I'm getting at here, the DiNozzo way. I knew who it was because it was the woman in the film that I was most attracted to. That's how I knew who the murderer was.
You would make a fine detective.
I'll pretend like I deduced it, but in reality, I just knew it in my gut.
There'll be a lot of beautiful women in jail if he was.
You were deduced, but really seduced.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Or if someone tried to seduce me, I knew that they were probably the one.
So here he's luring Mars out to the house, acting like he's not there yet. It'll take him a while to get there, which makes Mars think he's got time to get there first and kind of set up the place. And of course, this was Mars's property.
Perfect example of something we were talking about earlier about remaking films and whatnot. Mm-hmm. If you were to do this again, this film in a modern setting wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. I mean, for one thing, you'd know where he was calling from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know,
it is true. You'd have to really, because of technology advancements, you'd have to rewrite huge sections of some of these old classic stories.
The whole point of this movie, the blackmail about some nudie pictures. Mm-hmm. I mean, this story would not go the same way these days.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it that way. That was really crass. Sorry, Sound Engraver.
You're okay. Now, this is interesting. He says, I'm scared. She says, your hands are shaking too. He says, I'm scared too, because Mars is way ahead of me and stuff like that. So Mars is somebody, and Canino, when the right person has the gun, he takes them seriously,
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just the young punks that he can smack it out of their hand, basically.
And it's when the guy and his men are coming out of the car. It's like, oh, it's showdown.
Yep, like a Western almost.
Circle the wagons.
Makes sense, of course, because Howard Hawks was adept at. I don't really know I mean, I'm sure there are other directors, but not many of them who worked as proficiently as Hawks did in so many different genres. I think part of it was him coming out of the studio system where you kind of had to do whatever they gave you, but he was very proficient at each genre he worked at.
I like that background. Yes.
Was that a lamppost or the moon?
Outside?
Yeah, when they were walking around outside, he had that one little globe light. I was wondering if it was a lamppost or if it was the moon.
Is that the background you were talking about too, Son Graver?
No, I was just talking about the fields and the hills behind it.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, because it's like it's part of Los Angeles, but it's a little bit more secluded. So is it rural? Is it urban? You're kind of on the outskirts, but not too far from from the city. So yeah, lampposts I guess would be okay, but it could have been either. So he's getting the place already. Thinks he's there, cutting the line, and now even though this trap that he sets for Mars here, it's not in the book. It's still pretty clever, and it's kind of thematically fitting. Because remember the first time Mars was in charge in this room, in the same room, Mars had Bogey at gunpoint, or Marlowe at gunpoint there, and had his thugs outside. All he had to do was whistle, and his thugs would run in, and that's why Marlowe, was supposed to be at his whim. Now she just says he's got his men outside, so it's the same situation, but Marlowe has the gun, and Marlowe's going to kind of use the men around to his advantage this time, just as Mars tried to do earlier. It shows who's smarter between them,
I will say, film-wise, the way he goes down is pretty dramatic.
It is, yeah. So Regan said no to Carmen, so Carmen killed him. She gets mad when anybody says that to her. You've seen her that way, So that classic femme fatale, the one who won't respond to the charms of the femme fatale has to go. We saw that with what's her name in Maltese Falcon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, we talk about like the aggressive male, and I'm like, well, there's a side to the female too. It's which is a different form of aggression.
Yeah,
that we don't touch on, and it could mean someone's fate in a story or character if they don't respond. And
that's a great point.
Yeah, that's exactly the same.
Yeah, and I like what you said too. It's a different kind of danger. Absolutely. So what are they going to do? The first person who goes out the door now?
Yeah.
Making him, it's execution by his own men. I mean, that's
that's really bad.
By his own rough, machinations.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I like that line of Tommy gun shot right across.
Yeah. Yep.
And he shouts his last words, "Don't shoot, it's me."
Mm-hmm.
And we never see the reaction of those men. Like they realize they'll be the guy.
Like, don't we shot the boss.
Yeah, they're gone now. They're like, boss is dead. No more money.
Well, you saw they made a movie was very careful to show you what dolts they were anyway, a number of different times. So even though Carmen Sternwood is a femme fatale, she's also not quite right in the head. In the book, they really draw that out. In addition to being just inappropriately immature and spoiled and whatnot, she also has these epileptic fits and won't remember what she's done, after a certain fit and stuff like that. Vivian talks about that. So I mean, they play into it a little bit now in their conversation, but it's more spelled out and explained in the book. She's not. You can give her the plea for insanity card,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, there is a love theme. I forgot to say that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can hear it now.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. The love theme does happen between him and the librarian or the archivist or whoever she was.
Oh, the bookstore seller.
I thought that was odd, but when he and Rutledge kiss in the car and stuff, so it keeps surfacing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He got the sirens going, so he told her to take Carmen away, get her help. And she's like, not without you and whatnot. So it's left ambiguous. And you have the two cigarettes there. And I like the idea of the symbol of the two cigarettes because on one hand, they're kind of smoldering and you can take it kind of as an innuendo, but also they're burning up. Like they're going to be consumed. So there's a little bit of a hint that maybe the love story doesn't work out, or maybe it is more noirish or whatever. It's just an interesting thing to end on. So, Hawk's playing with what he can with the, the studio's decisions and whatnot handed down.
Yeah.
Stephen Cruz said Sarah and Rian Johnson would be able to pull it off in terms of the modern adaptation. But such a good movie. It's a good film. Like I said, it's not the artistic quality as a film itself, cohesive, that Maltese Falcon was, but it's a great. It's also a great exploration of how film noir was kind of up against it in the late 40s, early 50s, with more of the censorship coming back and cracking down. You had a lot of movies like this, like Gilda with Rita Hayworth. A lot of these great movies, which are wonderful film noirs until they get to the end, and there's this awkward manufactured happy ending that's tacked onto a lot of them. And I'm all for happy endings. I love happy endings. But when the story doesn't call for it, and you can tell that it's just so heavy-handed, maneuvered into it or whatever, unfortunately that was done to some of those films, but they're still worth seeing, like this one is, for all of the great stuff in them and stuff. So, what'd you guys think?
I love this movie. I always have.
Yeah, I really did enjoy this one.
That's cool. So what do you guys think about for next week? Do you guys want to continue with the film noir stuff, or would you like to move into some screwball comedies or Western, or I just like to keep it classic because I'm loving this.
I mean, I feel
the world in real brother rolls.
I am about enjoying to run with a theme for a while. So, I mean, I'd be happy to keep running with this for a little while.
Okay. What do you think, Santa Gruber?
I think that's fine. When you say screwball comedies, I'm give me some iconic examples.
Bringing up maybe Some Like It Hot. I've got Howard Hawks in the brain right now. Fireball. Basically, they're romantic comedies from the
Gentlemen
40s.
Prefer Blondes.
That was a musical, but they've got the comedic aspects to it. Yeah, they're so zany, crazy, but basically romantic comedies from that time.
Okay.
Yeah, but good stuff nonetheless. So we'll definitely get to it eventually, whether we do it now
Mr.
or not.
Matchstick, Three Stooges.
No,
I was a male war bride.
That was one of Howard Hawks' movies, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've got his page up on his island on the high seas.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so if you want, so either way, and the chat can chime in too. What you guys think, but they've got there's still a great amount of film noir to do. We could do, as we said, Double Indemnity, which we haven't touched yet. If we want to continue with the detectives, there's another movie a little bit later, also a Philip Marlowe, and it's called Murder My Sweet, which is an adaptation of Raymond Chandler's book called Farewell My Lovely. In this one, though, Philip Marlowe is played by Dick Powell, who is much more lighthearted. It's even sort of comedic, though it does still have its film noir elements. It's got the happy ending again, but it's a very interesting take on Philip Marlowe that Dick Powell does well. It's just not the Marlowe of the books necessarily, but it's an interesting kind of juxtaposition to this one. That's another idea.
That might be a good idea, so that it's still fresh in our mind and we can mentally kind of do a contrast of those.
What do you guys think?
I'm open. I can go on for a few more weeks on film noir.
Okay, cool.
And that detective archetype, because I really know very little about the detective archetype. So it's very engaging. It's very insightful.
Okay, cool.
These examples. Yeah,
well, people in the chat seem to like that. Stephen Cruz said, "Yeah, let's do that." All right, so we'll do "Murder My Sweet." It's called, and it stars Dick Powell. It's another adaptation of a Raymond Chandler novel with Philip Marlowe. But it's a really good movie and a very different take on Marlowe while still making him the hard-boiled detective. So it's Edward Dmytryk who's the director, another great classic director there. Yeah, good. Murder My Sweet is what it's called. And it's an adaptation of Farewell My Lovely, I think. So there's a remake. There's a couple different adaptations of the story, and one of them is called Farewell My Lovely, I think. But Murder My Sweet from 1944 is what we'll be doing.
Yeah.
So it actually came out before this one.
Go.
What
was that?
You okay there, Al?
Yeah, just something.
Okay.
No, I'm all right.
You
I'm all
can't find it on any of the legal sites you go on.
right. Well, just the first one, my go-to, it's not there, so I'll have to hunt.
I'm well versed in Al isms. I knew that grunt. That grunt was, it's not on my site.
Yeah, I would say, what's the one? Double indemnity.
Uh-huh.
That word. There is a composer I'd like to look into a little bit more.
Oh, cool.
To be honest, he is, I think, Czech. His name looks Czech, so I'd have to look at his name. But he was along the lines of Max Steiner with the big names in Hollywood. So that would be music for that film, probably along the same.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So maybe why don't we just go ahead and plan out the next 2 weeks then? We'll do Murder My Sweet next week, and then we'll do Double Indemnity the week after that, because I really want to do Double Indemnity. And you're right, Billy Wilder himself, the director, was actually Austrian. He changed his name over to make it more American sounding. And a lot of the film directors and composers, like you said, a lot of them came over. This is post-war, world, so they would come over after the World War II to escape or whatever, or during World War II, and a lot of them did some of their best work over here in the Hollywood system. So Billy Wilder is certainly one of them. Yeah, I'm sure the composers are the same kind of deal. So, all right, cool. We got the next 2 weeks then. We'll do Murder My Sweet next week, just to keep that detective in mind, and then we'll do Double Indemnity, which isn't a hard-boiled detective story. It's still detective noir. You got the insurance investigator or whatever and stuff like that, going on. But it's a very different. It's also amazingly well done artistic film. So that'll be cool. Maybe we'll see how we feel after those two, and see if we want to move to screwball comedies or westerns, or keep rolling with the noir or something. We'll check in at that point. So
okay, sounds great.
Cool. So don't think anything's going on tomorrow, unless I happen to get a moment and dial up Troy, who's my next Inspiration of Heroes interviewee. So we'll see. At some point we'll grab him. But Thursday, of course, we're finishing up the book study of The Last Command, the Thrawn trilogy. So that'll be a lot of fun. And Fan Man's doing something Friday night. Not sure exactly what. And then Saturday, what's going on Saturday? Sound Engraver?
Yeah, what is going on? Charade. Yes, with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn and Henry Mancini, of course. I was thinking about doing it.
And Walter Matthau.
Yep.
My bad. Yes. Of course.
Yeah.
How can I forget him? He's a really cool character. So I really did enjoy just.
I like Walter Matthau is a cool actor.
Yeah, he is really cool, and I like what he did in the film. So that's gonna be fun. I might, if I have time, pull a quick live performance impromptu on the violin.
Cool.
Maybe
Nice.
maybe 15 minutes or something, and it'd be something like Pink Panther or something kind of like those old kind of songs.
Yeah,
but
Mancini.
Yeah, it might just.
Everybody stop talking. Al wants to sing.
I'll play Pink Panther. But yeah, I might just do that, and then I would disclose, well, we're not watching Pink Panther, but we are watching a Henry Mancini film.
That sounds good.
So
sounds perfect.
Just to kind of get us in the zone for that.
Cool. Very cool. Nice. And then I think Sunday is Matchstick doing another anime rewatch, Troy?
Yeah, Mr. Matchstick on the 14th is doing Redline.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a
Sunday,
Sunday.
right?
Yeah. That is Sunday.
Speed racer on cocaine, as he describes it.
Interesting.
I think we should change it to Speed Racer on Speed.
Oh, yeah,
it's still accurate.
Makes more sense. Yeah.
It works. Yeah.
So cool. Well, good rewatch, guys. A lot of fun. Don't forget to join that Facebook group if you haven't yet, and if you are so inclined, it's a lot of fun over there. I'll actually show this. We were finally working up this image because on the group page, I have the Bitmoji that Al made me is I'm Batman, but I'm just Professor Geek over a city, and the bat signal instead is my beard signal. And I thought, well, it just seems kind of empty. We should have, the villains of the Rogues Gallery or something like that in it with you guys cast as Rogues Gallery. So we finally got the Bitmojis together. We finally did this. So I'll do the channel reveal of it here. It looks pretty cool. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing that. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Adventures of Professor Geek. And they're all cast as like second tier Batman 66 villains. So Big Al is King Tut, Sound Engraver is Siren, which makes sense. Fan Man is Shame, the Western villain.
You like that one, right?
Yeah, it looks great. Nanette is.
I just wish.
Al, you cut out. Hello.
Oh, actually, both of them cut out.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Oh, you're here.
I
Troy.
just wasn't saying anything.
Am I still here?
Hello?
You're
Hello?
still here, yeah.
You're there, Al.
Al was the only one that cut out.
Oh,
Hello?
Al cut out. Yeah. You're back now, Al. You just cut out for
I'm
a
back.
second. Yeah.
Okay.
You were interrupting me, and I stopped, and then you cut out. So,
Dude, watch it.
what were you wanting to say about the?
I just said it was sad we couldn't do the Louis Lilac.
Oh
version.
yeah.
Louis Lilac, but
I thought about that one, but I just thought shame.
Yeah.
need to get this beard on now since he's got that beard going.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then Nanette is Queen of Diamonds. Perfect. Carolyn Jones, the great, gorgeous Carolyn Jones from the Addams Family played that character.
Uh-huh.
And Troy, you were like, "Oh, I guess I'll be the cow." Talking, Nanette said about the dress there. I was like, "Well, that's like a really tame image I posted. She goes rather scantily clad for a '60s show sometimes."
It was just funny because the two options you gave were her and
Zsa Zsa Gabor and this, yeah,
and neither Nanette nor myself are big Zsa Zsa fans.
Oh,
but
okay.
just looking at the outfit, one looks like cow print and the other one looks like a TV dinner. She said, "I'd rather be the cow." I'm like, okay, you got it.
Well, my idea was Olga, Queen of the Cossacks, because that's who Egghead partnered with all the time, and I just thought that would be.
Oh yeah.
And I said, "No, we're not going to cast Nanette as the old ugly woman."
She would,
but it works. Like, I'll shut
and
up now.
Baxter, there's no way that she was ugly. Are you kidding me? Do you remember Olga?
Anyway,
Al has very unique taste.
Troy as Egghead was a no-brainer. That was just
I see what you did there. No brainer. Huh?
Can I put you guys in a corner, so to speak, with this thing?
Sure. Why not?
I think if anyone could, you could. Absolutely.
That's true. Good point.
So, the pants are a little artsy. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at the pants. I was like, I don't know if I'd wear those pants in real life.
Oh, on the
On the
Siren?
Bitmoji?
Yeah.
Oh,
On the Bitmoji, yeah.
on the Bitmoji, yeah.
They only give limited options. I was trying to pick
Yeah.
something that was,
Can we do the tux? The tail?
Yeah, the tux, absolutely. The tux, yeah.
That would make more sense.
That,
I hate asking because the prof asked, if I look, to look into it, and it was like, I don't want to do it. Like, and so Al and Troy are doing it. So I don't want to be like picky. So.
Oh, I didn't open it. Yeah, this is every text I kept trying to find. So I did a Bitmoji up for Sound Engraver, and I kept trying to find one with a violin, and the only violin was in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
So
That worked. That is the most atrocious bowing technique I've ever seen, but I'll take it.
That in fact is the same picture that I used for the well, hello. What happened there?
I'll get it back.
That was in fact the same. That's the base picture that I used for the Siren.
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah,
I did like the idea of the siren.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
very cool.
There you go.
So
there you
cool.
go. I like that.
Thanks for.
I'm only playing the A string though over my bridge, so all you hear is.
That's right. That's the siren note, right?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What was the name of the actress? The gorgeous actress who played Siren?
Joan Collins.
Joan Collins. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Joan Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That gold band on the naked arm.
Yep.
Pretty alluring, I will say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't have the gold band. I just have the dress.
the Greek look. Yeah, it's really cool. So cool. Well, that'll be our show for tonight. So got a lot of more cool things going up this week and next week, of course. Tune into all of that. But thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Night, everyone.
Night.